With more and more courses being offered online as a result of COVID, and with more and more readings being assigned, online students have to find ways to be more efficient readers so that they can be successful in their online classes. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some strategies that you can use to ensure that you are an efficient reader and that you can determine the grade that you end up with. Hello everyone, I'm Tanya. I'm a college professor here in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I've been teaching for 31 years. And I would say that for the 31 years that I've been teaching, the most prominent issue that students have is with reading the textbooks. And I think this is because most times they approach reading the textbook as they would approach reading a novel, where they read from the start to the end, and there's very little engagement with the actual words. But reading a textbook is very different from reading a novel, because whereas for reading a novel, you are a passive reader, when it comes to reading your textbook, you have to be an active reader. You have to be asking questions of the textbook. You have to be interacting with the writer. You have to be skimming, scanning, predicting, looking for inferences, and there's so much more that you need to do. So let's talk about those things that you need to do in order to read your textbook efficiently. Now, an efficient reader is an active reader who uses a variety of skills unconsciously without even realizing. Now, if you think back about someone who's learning to drive, when the first time that they're taken on the highway, they have to figure out how to do a shoulder check, how to merge with traffic, how to drive at the correct speed, how to indicate to cross and change lanes. And there are quite a few skills that the learner must master. But once they master those skills, there is no more thought about, should I do the shoulder check now? Do I merge now? There's no more nervousness. There's no more wonder. Because once you get to mastery, you use the skills easily. And it's the same with reading. There are a variety of skills that you can use. Once you master them, you will use them whenever you want them. Now, the beauty of being an efficient reader is that you know which skills to use depending on the purpose for reading. Now, nobody reads a college textbook for the fun of it. Am I right? Can I get an amen? Seriously, nobody just reads for the fun of it. You read because you've been assigned a reading, or you have a test or a quiz or a midterm exam or an essay to write or an assignment to complete. We read textbooks, college or university or any kind of school textbook, purposefully. So the first thing you have to do when you are deciding to read is figure out the purpose. Are you reading because you have to post something in the online discussion area? Are you reading because you want to keep abreast and know what the instructor is doing in class next week? Are you reading because you have a 10% paper to do and you need to be able to write a memo or a letter or your first speech? Or are you reading because you have a 30% paper where you have to analyze a few readings and you have to do detailed research and give your opinion and you have to pull from many sources and it's worth 30%? So you have to be sure of your purpose for reading. What's the end result that you want as a result of doing this reading? Once you know your purpose for reading, that will help you to decide on how much effort you need to put into reading. Because let's say you're reading because you need to be able to look intelligent so that when you do your discussion post, it's a good response that you have. Now, if that discussion post is worth 1%, then the effort that you put into reading for the 1% will not be the same as the effort that you would put into your reading if you had to write a research paper worth 30%. So That's what you have to do next. After you've decided on your purpose, now you need to decide on how much effort you need to put into reading. And let me say this, reading involves 3 stages: pre-reading, reading, and post-reading. And once again, the amount of effort that you put into reading is determined by the outcome that you expect. If you're just reading because you want to keep abreast with what the instructor is saying, then you're definitely not going to put the same amount of effort into reading. And that's really just working smart. You have lives and you have things to do and you have goals to meet and you have many roles. You may be the parent who has to be supervising the child's homework every day. You may be the wife who's trying to keep her marriage together. You may be the sibling trying to make peace in the family. Or you may be the sibling who cares the most about the sibling who's a drug addict. And you have a lot of things on your plate. So you have to be wise and you have to know which skills to use. The first stage of reading is the pre-reading stage. And at that stage, you really have 2 goals. You're trying to get a general idea of what the content is about and how it's arranged. And the second goal is to activate our prior knowledge on the subject. And we do that because research tells us that learning occurs best when we have old information that we can connect to new information. So we have to make an effort to question ourselves to find out what we already know about the subject, and we want to bring it to the forefront so that we can prime our brains. So in order for you to do this pre-reading, you have to begin skimming. And by skimming, it means that you're just going to go through very quickly. If it's a textbook, you're going to flip through the pages. If you are reading an ebook, then you're going to scroll through very quickly. And all you're trying to do is look at the title, the headings, the subheadings, the sub-subheadings, the graphs, the pictures, any kind of visual. And you're trying to get a big picture of how the information is arranged. And then you're going to go to the end of the chapter and you're going to see if there's a summary or if there's a quiz or some kind of test. And then you're going to read that first. And then when you're finished with that, you are going to go back to the beginning of the chapter, look at the learning objectives if there are any there, look at each section of the chapter. And as you look at each section, for each section, you're going to read the first sentence and the last sentence. You're not reading very closely, you're just skimming. If you now need to think in terms of doing the 1% assignment or the 2% assignment where you need to do a posting, but it's only worth 1 or 2%, you're then ready to start scanning. And by scanning, what you're going to be doing is for each section of the chapter, you're going to be finding out the main idea and how it is supported. Main idea and the support. Main idea, support. And you're going to do this for every section of the textbook. And to find the main idea, you're going to turn the headings into questions. So let's say, for example, you're using Bovee and you're on page 66. And there's a section that says uncovering audience needs. You want to figure out what's the main idea for that section, so you turn it into a question. So the heading is uncovering audience needs, and the question is, how does one uncover audience needs? And then you're going to look, scan. You're just looking for the information. You're not reading every word or every sentence. You're only looking for the information, because you're now at the second level of reading, which first begins with scanning, and then you start to read completely. So to summarize, there are 3 levels of reading. There is pre-reading, there is reading, and there is post-reading. Now, because we know that we only read when we have a purpose, we only read our textbooks when there's a purpose, you have to first determine your purpose. Do you want to just keep abreast with the lecturer, or do you want to do a small assignment like in a discussion post? If those are your only goals, then you're looking to do the kind of reading that only involves pre-reading and the first part of reading. So pre-reading would be the skimming part and the activating of the prior knowledge, and then the actual reading level, you would only be doing the first part of the reading level, which is just scanning, looking for the main idea and looking for how it's supported. If you were to do just those two things, you would be a more efficient reader, and you would find that you're not as overwhelmed with reading, and you would find that your purpose for reading would be met. So until next week, when we talk about closer reading and note-taking, which is appropriate when your purpose is for a bigger assignment, I'd like you to focus this week and to practice skimming and scanning. I want you to get out of the habit of trying to read your textbook like a novel. Only skim and scan, and next week we'll talk about closer reading. So until then, have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.